All right. Welcome to the latest edition of the Other League Pod. I'm your host, Gio, Green Bull Packer, as we've become to known. Missing my counterpart still, Pain Train, East Nye, still doing his daddy duties, but welcoming for his debut to the pod, man who needs no introduction wearing that. You know him as Andres Plantation. Andy, welcome
Let's
to the
go,
pod,
baby. Bud. Happy to be here, Gio. Snyder, we'll fucking see ya. You're out. I'm in. Let's go. I'm excited to recap football. As I don't know, some of you probably know, I had a daughter a couple weeks ago, so I haven't been able to really get into football that much recently. So I'm ready to dive in. Let's go.
Yeah. Rick stopped me short of almost forgetting to congratulate you on our last pod. So yeah, congratulations to the kid number 2 as well for you.
Let's go.
I know
baby.
how those certainly as well, those early weeks of a child. Not a lot going on in terms of following sports. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Yeah, it's insane. All right, let's share it. Getting a little better at this. All right, let's fire away, baby.
Crazy who do you want to start with?
I'm going to skip myself and your matchup. I always like to do the host kind of towards the end. Let's go down here. We'll start with basically kind of a straightforward matchup. I think we've been ripping Phil Snyder's team pretty often on this pod. But yeah, Tiburon and Colombian White here. We'll kick it off with these guys.
Dude, you guys jinxed me against Phil. Last pod, you were just talking so much shit on his team. The whole time listening to it, I'm like, this isn't good for me this week. And of course, team puts up an absolute stinker.
Yeah,
that was brutal.
I mean, Logue ripping the 3 worst franchises and then naming all of Phil's previous team names. That was what really put it over the top. So yeah, unfortunately, that was one of our losses. When we get to the pick'ems, I'll break those down. I know we're 2 weeks back, but yeah, that we definitely put the jinx on you. Sorry, bud. But yeah, they team kind of finds a way back into the yellow column again. Going against Ryan here. Ryan's got a pretty good team, as we've noted. So, the big note for him, I guess I'll go on Ryan's side just to kind of kick it off here. I mean, again, subdue game. I mean, Andrews.
Did you click into the matchup?
Yeah, can you see it?
No, I'm a little delayed. I'm just gonna open it on another tab. All right, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, it does say I'm sharing the screen though, so.
Oh, there it just went.
Okay, beautiful. We don't have a producer on the back end here of the Other League Pod. That is hopefully in the budget for 2024. This thing blows up, but then hold a quick side note before we get back to the matchup. Rick pointed out while I was talking to him today that the previous pod, not last week's, but the last edition, has 66 views, I think it was, on YouTube. So it's
wow.
We're spreading our wings. There's other people listening to this. I don't know who the hell's listening to it, but we appreciate you.
and we're sure it's not Eric 55 times, right?
Only Snyder can tell. He owns the YouTube account, so who knows? It could be him. Had the stats though.
So he's fudging the numbers too. Okay.
Had the stats. But yeah. So we'll kick him back to Ryan here. I mean, Ryan's. I think he's on a couple game win streak if I'm not mistaken. We'll go back to the standings just to catch up since we're kind of 2 weeks behind. But loses Andrews as we noted. I actually think it was after the last pod. So yeah, loses Andrews. So Jackson
brutal.
Yeah, big piece in terms of that early draft of Andrews. Losing a guy like that for him, but. I mean, Bijan Robinson kind of going down makes up for it. I mean, if he's going to start getting these type of stats, I mean, the last couple games, just going to kind of recap. I mean, 27 and 17, kind of a dud game or two in between, but trending up, I would say, in the last 2 weeks that he's played after just the game previous to the bye and then afterwards, he's gotten 17 plus. So good to see that. I mean, from his standpoint, I mean, having another a guy that can really put up some points and you can count on a week-to-week basis. There's very few of those guys that are going to do 20 plus, and Bijan's kind of hovering over it for him. So St. Brown, he's been great, top 5 receiver. Ayuk kind of, basically the same projections in terms of what those guys got. Kareem Hunt had to play this week. Oh, he's playing him over. Oh man, he played him over AJ Dillon. I'm just like kind of recapping these guys' teams too. I didn't even know who played who. Um, Obviously, you got to sit
I
Pierce
don't
at this
know about
point.
that.
Yeah, I mean, he traded for Dillon, so I mean, I would have probably played Dillon over Kareem Hunt, but you're kind of splitting hairs with backup running backs. I mean, Ford was still there from what I think, or no. So yeah, interesting play there. I would have played Dillon on Thanksgiving Eve, especially as a Packer fan. I don't know. I'm a huge homer. I always play my guys,
Yeah,
but
I like Mitchell too. He's just been so explosive.
yeah, the
Throw
rookie
him
there
in
is
there.
good. Yeah, and you never know. I mean, he's been more of a running back, but who knows? I mean, he has Lamar. I mean, yeah, that would have been a good play as well. But yeah, I guess that's really the only thing to kind of critique Ryan here. I mean, he has Njoku, gets him 11. Pittman, man, he looks good. I really like Michael Pittman Jr. Kind of always did. I just didn't really know much about Indy's offense with Richardson. I mean, I got a lot of hype, but man, Pittman's been good. Been really consistent all year, and just look at this, just double digits besides like one game in week 4. Like that's nice. That's a wide
Yeah,
receiver
I
one.
really didn't. I didn't expect him to keep it up with Minshew, but he's.
Hmm.
I mean, he's not even dropping off at all. He's just the go-to read and gets open. So yeah,
Yeah, no, that's
he's
good.
doing awesome.
So yeah, Ryan gets to 120. I mean, that's kind of the mark that we've all been talking about, continuously on the pod. I harp on it all the time. Like 120, it's really hard to lose if you score 120. Now, 2 guys this week did that and lost, you being one of them, unfortunately, but it's rare. 120 is a good mark. And then, I mean, just kicking it over to Phil, I mean, not much to highlight. I mean, he really underperforms his projections. Not that they're anything, but I mean, you're projected 104, he gets 86. Yeah, kick it off. Really nothing to note. I mean, the only thing that we can kind of harp on a little bit, I mean, a couple of these pieces that he got um, for Kelsey, I mean, just get subdue games from Godwin and Swift this week.
Yeah, I mean, granted, Kelsey hasn't really blown up or
Not at all.
anything either, but yeah, I think just overall, pretty much everybody underperformed. I mean, Adams has been disappointing this year, but
Yeah, it's
still,
sad.
he's capable of blow up games. You'd like him to see that in more of a higher scoring game against KC.
12,
Yeah,
yeah,
he
we'll
had
subdue.
that. So, and then I mean, Godwin, Swift, all those other guys, they just didn't get the job done this
Wow.
week. So I don't know, just pretty
Yeah,
standard for Fletcher Reed, aka Colombian White.
yeah, it's Phil's all year. I mean, he's had a tough team in terms of just getting to that point total that is going to win you weeks. Obviously, he did it 2 weeks ago against you, unfortunately, but yeah, I mean, it's just if you get a couple of these guys underperforming, there's not really a guy you look on his roster necessarily that's just like going to go off. You would kind of think it would be Adams, maybe on a rushing game again, with Swift, but it hurts taking a lot of those goal line touches. You're not going to get a lot of touchdowns from Swift. So yeah, it's tough outing. I mean, 86 was the lowest point total of the week, so you never like to be that guy. And now him
That's
and
actually impressive. That's a 87's not terrible for lowest
no,
point of the week. Who set the record this year? Was it Snyder? What did he have?
probably
54, 56?
I don't know. It was
Oh,
either
I
me or
can't
Snyder.
remember, but it was
My
it
my
was it
team
was
was
bad.
my team definitely had a dud or two for sure. So I was in the 60s maybe. I mean, I can't remember, but we'll look that stat up for next week. But yeah. So I mean, unfortunately, White's kind of trending down. I think that's his second or no, I'm sorry, he won against you. So yeah, he gets back in the L column, like I said. So yeah, he's down there at 3-9. Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's a
mean,
race
go
for the dress.
scroll down to the standings again. I mean, you and the Snyders were. I mean, just from a point total
That's it.
standpoint,
That's
it's
it.
you can't get there. So
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be nice if Yahoo would introduce a eliminated button or like like how they asterisk the guys that are like advancing to the playoffs or clinched. You should have like an
yeah,
X as like the eliminated teams because
that would actually be
that's
pretty sick. Yeah,
those are the
I
only
like
three
that.
teams that are now essentially eliminated. I mean, 7 wins is gonna someone with 7 wins or more is gonna take the 6th seed, even with the points. So yeah, officially Green Bull, Colombian White, and Pain Train are eliminated from playoff hopes. Now they're fighting for their lives to not have a presentation, but we will get to more to come for those teams. We'll go with Sick Wizard and
Look, the
and
Clark
Riggs.
matchup.
Clark brothers, yeah. Man, boy, Rick's kind of hot. We'll say that. I mean, he's kind of peaking a little bit. I mean, he was consistent all year. He's at 8-4. I mean, he's always had a good team all year. But now that Kyron Williams, I mean, I was watching that game just because I had Cooper Kupp. I the guy's unbelievable. I mean, I didn't realize how good he actually was. I mean, I knew his stats were good, but I never really didn't pay much attention to him, especially earlier in the year when Kupp was hurt. I wasn't watching a lot of Rams games during Sundays, but he's really good. And I can see what kind of what he does for. Yeah,
I was just gonna say he's a really good player. You guys were ripping on Rick a little bit for that trade we made, but I didn't really want to give him up. He would get on near 100% of the touches, and he was pretty explosive. I mean, just getting a lot of yards after contact, and I mean, he was getting in the end zone too. He just kept scoring over and over. So I mean, he comes back and gives Rick. Scroll down. What do you get? 38. Yeah, in that game,
38
it was week 6. That was the first week I traded him to Rick. He had I think he had like 2 yards in the first half, and then he had 150 plus in the second half.
Yeah.
Just totally went off.
He finished with 158.
So he's a good player, man. I like him, and I don't know what's going on with Kupp. If is he still injured? Because I think maybe Puka he's kind of dropped off, but I could see him maybe coming back towards the end of the year. Dude, what's going on? You have Kupp. What's going on with him?
I don't know. With Stafford being back this week, and against Arizona, I expected so much more from that passing game. Stafford threw for 4 touchdowns. He just didn't throw really anything to Kupp or Nacua. I mean, Nacua gets 8 targets, and he definitely looked like the better receiver between the two. And Kupp was coming off that rolled up ankle I think he had 2 weeks ago. So it could Kupp just be hurt. I mean, he just doesn't look explosive. Which is weird because the first 2 games back he looked good. So yeah, it's been frustrating. I mean, I think Nacua is definitely. I would rather have Nacua than Kupp, especially at where we had to get him. But and he just looks more explosive out there. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, definitely not a bad wide receiver too for Rick by any means. And yeah, going back to that trade, I mean, I think the injury made that trade worse at the time for you guys for sure. It just didn't look like it just looked like you were getting stacked again, which we've been wrong a lot for sure. I will attest to that. I mean, the Kelce trade I thought was lopsided, and Kelce hasn't done anything really to say like, hey, I deserve a 2-for-1. So he could. The potential's there, the name's there, but he hasn't really been. I think he is still the tight end 2 or 3, but he's definitely not the Kelce of old. I would say this year. So I'm
hoping he becomes that guy in the next couple weeks, which is very possible. So,
but
we'll see.
For Rick to get slot in a 40-point spot from Williams on his first game back, I'm sure it was a nice piece to see. And I think Rick during our group chat was saying we're all like fucked because Kyron Williams was back. I'm pretty sure he sent something like along those lines, knowing how Rick talks. And he was right. I mean, 40 points from Williams. I mean, and he doesn't have to play Cook, who obviously I traded him, and he has that on the bench there with 16. I'm just kind of looking down his bench. Denver was a great play. Cleveland has no quarterback now. Deshaun Watson was, I guess, somewhat of a quarterback. He wasn't great either this year, but yeah, their offense is terrible. They have just 2 pathetic quarterbacks, Cleveland now.
And Denver, holy shit! How about Denver, man? They're playing pretty good right now.
Yeah, they're on a roll, man. They're definitely. They looks like 2 different teams. It's really weird. I guess Sean Payton is a pretty decent coach. They look terrible in the beginning of the year, but it
took them a while.
Yeah, but and then unfortunately, going back to that 120 mark. I mean, this is what I just said in the previous matchup. And this is one of the matchups. This is the second highest total scoring matchup of the week. And the guy that scores 120 loses by 20. So Steve finally figured out his quarterback situation. CJ Stroud just has been on a tear. What do you think of him? I love that kid. He looks sick.
Yeah, he's insane. He's fun to watch. Yeah, he's unbelievable. He's going to be a stud in real life and fantasy for a long time. I don't know what it is. Like, is it Houston's system? But like the fact that they had Deshaun and now him, and that just,
Yeah,
from
yeah, pretty
year
similar.
one, just going off. I mean, they've got to have some good coaching in that building to get those guys going.
Yeah, I mean, adversely, you talk about Bryce Young. I mean, there was those two guys going in the draft, and like CJ Stroud just looks like a home run pick from Houston. And then just what that, I mean, Bryce Young could still be good. I mean, I think the coaching hasn't helped them, but just the amount of stock that they traded for to get Bryce Young looks terrible now. But yeah, CJ Stroud's
Yeah,
been
it's so bad.
finally settling in for Riggs as his week in and week out quarterback. We've noted many pods here. Steve's quarterback carousel, we'll call it. But yeah, he finally gets Stroud kind of rolling here. Kind of can lean on him for the rest of the year for sure. Devontae Smith, huge game, 23. I mean, that's got to be nice to see from Steve. I mean, kind of been on a nice little 4-game tear here for Devontae. I mean, he's inconsistent with that offense, but it looks like they're really kind of just slinging it. He's getting in the end zone too. I mean, 3 of the last 4 games he scored. So, what do you
Yeah, I
think of that
feel
offense?
like that's the Eagles offense between him, AJ Brown, and Dallas Goddard. I feel like they really just go to whoever. AJ Brown's getting doubled now. Goddard with him out,
Yeah.
obviously there's more targets to go to Smith. So I think it really just comes down to scheming, and that's like Devontae will have really good stretches, and then you'll see he'll disappear. So I mean, he's on a really good run right now. He's an insane talent. So you just got to hope he gets hot at the right time. But yeah,
Yeah.
he's awesome. Having him as a second receiver on the Eagles is insane.
Yeah, Eagles offense is really stacked. I mean, and to your point, I don't know. We'll get into AJ Brown here probably in a couple matchups with you. I'm sorry, with Arby's, I think, right? AJ Brown, yeah.
Yep.
Just in terms of targets, I know he had a down week last week, or 2 weeks ago, I should say. I mean, he gets in the end zone this week, but I mean, 8 targets for Smith. I mean, you're right. He might have just been the guy that the guy that was open. So I mean, Hurts is finding the guys that are getting open. There's a lot of mouths to feed, and Smith's been eating. So I mean, nice to see from Steve's perspective there. Gibbs, kind of a subdued game. Packers kicked some ass on Thanksgiving, so which was nice to see. I mean, Gibbs is explosive. He didn't get some 11, but it was kind of a really quiet 11 if you want to call it that. So, there's really nothing really to harp necessarily on Steve's team. I mean, Steve's got a decent team. I mean, I think this is a good time for us to break down his trade.
Oh
I've
my
been,
goodness.
I've been giving him a lot of
Let's
shit.
get into that.
Yeah, I mean, so let's go back to the league and we'll go to trades because this is the best way to highlight it for anyone that's viewing this. This is the trade that Riggs puts down with Pain Train. This is just a ridiculous trade. I still think this is a ridiculous trade. Fields, Eckler, and Ferguson.
I just do not understand what he was thinking. Like,
yeah, we're gonna get.
Who's he?
I
mean, Geno Smith and Jonnu Smith are almost droppable players. Like, you do not want to start at either of them. So you're getting Justin Jefferson, who hasn't played in 6, 7, 8 weeks, and is coming back after a bye week with a shitty backup QB. I just don't see the massive upside with Jefferson to sacrifice giving up 2, maybe 3 really good players. And especially you look at his team this week. He doesn't even have a tight end to start now. And he's starting Tyler Boyd in his flex.
We'll get to it.
When that could be Eckler with his season on the line. What are you doing, Riggs?
Yeah, Riggs, this is this thing I don't understand. And he said he didn't need him. I would say you need players. You might not need
You don't
Jefferson,
you
but
don't
you
need a
need
top five
players.
running back. What?
Yeah, I mean, and Eckler has definitely been a little bit disappointing. I mean, injuries, had a couple quiet games for sure. I mean, unfortunately, I mean, Logan's gonna
Yeah, but
hate
again,
it, but he knows.
I would want him out there on my
100%,
fantasy team
100%.
for
Yeah, no,
sure.
no questions asked. But if you're down on a running back, I can understand being down a little bit on Eckler. Again, if you're also sitting at 7-5 and 8-4, probably okay. Maybe I can sit and wait, and maybe Jefferson, because of the talent he is, even with Josh Dobbs, who looked awful, absolutely awful on Monday night. They maybe you can sit on him and say, "I'll roll the dice. I have the depth, and I'm going to make the playoffs." Steve is looking down. He's going to lose this week, or possibly lose this week. We'll say, and he's done. He's finished.
Yeah,
Because
I
5 wins
really
is not someone with 7 wins is going to get in. He needs to win the next 2 weeks. Just a baffling move.
I really, you got to get him on here to explain himself. Like, can we call him in right now or something? Like, I really want to know what he was thinking.
Damn.
It doesn't make
I
any
mean,
sense. All right, wait. Even if he was gonna give up Eckler, like, why throw in Ferguson and Fields too? Like, you giving up Eckler for Jefferson, he should have had to give back more to get Eckler. You know,
yeah, I
like
just
that
don't
was so
understand it.
one sided.
And for sure. And some of the bitterness and some of the shit that I was giving Steve comes from the fact that I'm fighting for my life in the cellar with these Snyder boys, and he's just offloading players for free. I mean, basically, it was a handout to get a couple starters for Pain Train. Doesn't work out for him, but I mean, he had what did he play? He played two out of the three that he got traded this week. So let's go. Perfect segue into Pain Train. Um, God, man, Pain Train, what a rough year. What a rough year from the guy. Um, I don't know.
Man,
I mean, I've had some bad years. I might have came in last after I won a league, but I'd have to check that. I'm not sure, but I mean, winning the title, and then I mean he's in a dogfight too to not finish last, and he's lost three in a
it's
row. Makes a
it's
good trade,
ugly
I
right
thought.
now. Although
Yeah, it's
dude,
not good.
he still has some
Jefferson hurts.
firepower. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
obviously Jefferson hurts, but like his lineup, I feel like I still see enough upside in there to
Me
like
too. Me
knock
too. I
someone
would say
off.
that.
So
Yeah.
and
I
one
mean, we've been
thing
saying
with
that all
for
year.
yeah, and one thing for Snyder, because I was going back and just thinking about injuries and things that have happened in the past. Like his team, I don't want to give Snyder any credit here, but I know he's down the dumps a little, being in last place. Like his team could have been really good with he had Anthony Richardson, like if he was healthy, Jefferson was
Yep.
healthy, Garrett Wilson had Rodgers throwing to him, then you have
Montgomery was out a
Kamara
couple
and
games. Yep.
Montgomery. Like he could have had a really good team this year. It just
Yeah.
didn't work out, and now it's ugly. So
Oh yeah. Not
it
saying,
sucks, but
I
you
agree.
just look forward to next year at this point, you know?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, you're definitely spot on. I mean, I'm not by no means saying his draft sucked or he didn't have good players because looking at his team, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
we'll kick it over to Snyder. I mean, Fields, two fumbles lost. That was just a ugly Monday Night Football game. I'm really glad I didn't have to watch much of that. I was working during it, but I did see some of it while I was in the background. And 12-10, pathetic game, but plays Fields over Lawrence this week. He's got to be kicking himself for that. But I traded for him, so he probably wanted to play him. Garrett Wilson scores
Yeah.
on Friday too. I mean, Garrett Wilson, he still looks good. I mean, you're right. I mean, I have shares, I should say, in another league of Garrett Wilson and drafted him on that premise too. I just thought he would have been like the Devontae
Yeah, I
of
like he's
that
solid.
offense.
He's solid right now, but yeah, he could have been elite, like
Yeah,
top
yeah.
five.
So yeah, tough. Probably a double kick in the ass for Snyder being a Jets fan too. So yeah, that stinks. But he could potentially keep him for next year, which I'm sure he's probably thinking about. Um, Flowers had a really nice game. I've liked Zay Flowers all year. I just don't think the passing volume is there in that offense. But he just looks really good. He's a little shifty, small little receiver out there, and Got some speed to him. Not a big guy, but yeah, he's definitely the wide receiver one in that offense. He looked really good. He ran that one in and obviously caught a touchdown later in that game too. So
Yeah,
um,
he can really separate. I
yeah,
like
I was
him
gonna,
as a receiver.
yeah,
I feel like he could turn into something if their offense gets a little more consistent. But yeah, he's
and
he's really good.
they might need to lean in a little bit more to like the Odell who like had a couple catches but still doesn't look like the Odell. And how could he? I mean, he had so many knee
Yeah,
injuries.
he's
But he looks
he's
still a
done.
little like he's got a little bit of a pop. But I mean, they're going to have to look to these receivers, I think, a little bit more. I mean, besides leaning on the run game, which is great, because I mean, Andrews, I mean, arguably is going to be out for the year. I mean, unless they make the Super Bowl, which they could. I mean, the Ravens look really good. I mean, they've been really hot all year. Definitely the top team in the AFC, I think. At least in terms of their consistency over the year. Their defense looks great too. So, yeah, I think they're definitely gonna look his way a little bit more. I think, and he has the talent to, kind of provide some of that stuff for him. I mean, you can see kind of the up and down. I mean, there's 23 was his biggest week, which is I'm sure Snyder loves to see that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think he's definitely going to get some more targets. Montgomery, his boy, scores and gets a 2 pointer towards the end of that Packer game, or I should say the second half of that Packer game. Um, Barkley, a little subdued,
It's
but
insane. It's insane to me that Detroit like has enough volume to give Montgomery and Gibbs
and Gibbs.
enough work. It's pretty crazy to make
Yeah,
both
I
of
mean
them like pretty good starts, fantasy starts.
they're yeah they're. It's
It's like
weird too because like they're
Kamara and Mark Ingram back in the day.
yeah, very true. That's a great comparison. Yeah, I mean that whole thunder and lightning type dynamic for sure. I mean, and they're Detroit's offense is pretty good. I mean, Golf's going to be the guy that we're going to, and like I have him. So, I mean, not on a fantasy purpose wise, but just in general, he really could be the guy that either makes Detroit a competitive in terms of like a playoff team, or they're just not going to do it. They're not a great defensive team either. I mean, they're better than they've been, but definitely fraudulent a little bit in terms of their record based on who they played, and they just lost to the Packers. So, not that the Packers are terrible, but they're not good. Um, but anyways,
Yeah,
yeah, going back
I
to
agree.
going back to the rest of his team. I mean, Eckler subdue game again. I mean, Baltimore's D just looked really good in that Sunday night game. Um, they looked Chargers did not look good. Again. So yeah, tough treading there. Yeah, really the only thing. I mean, Gabe Davis, but looking at his bench here, I mean, that's just a crapshoot. I mean, Gabe Davis, you never know when he's going to perform. He's not consistent at all. He still isn't. He had a couple consistent weeks, I think, early on in the season. Yeah, 21, 10, 15, 22. Oof, that's a great stretch for him. Then pretty much nothing until he hits another 23, zero, zero, and then 22. So yeah, I mean, tough to really throw him out there, but yeah, it was a little surprised with Ingram. He didn't put Trevor Lawrence out there. I mean, I think that's the only thing that he can knock himself on, but he wouldn't have got the W regardless.
Yeah, exactly. I think I would have too, especially against Houston. That was going to be a shootout probably. So
Yeah, and let's talk about a man that should get a little bit more praise. He is now at 8-4, third in the league. A lot of
yeah,
pressure on
I've
Van.
always loved Aaron's team. I mean,
Yeah,
his keeper of Pollard was
great.
great value, and I mean he hasn't been elite, but he's been okay, and now he's starting to come on.
Yeah,
2 scores in
last,
the last 2 games, so.
yeah,
I mean,
last
if
2 weeks
if he could become a number one, I mean, it hurts with Chase too on his like. I thought
yeah,
Burrow and
it's tough.
Chase were really starting to get in a groove. That sucks about Burrow, but
Yeah, that
yeah.
offense was getting going.
I mean, Chase he could have been a lead. He's still solid, but more
Mhm.
unreliable. Like you see, he got
Talk about
12 there.
talk about this guy. This guy has been going off the last 2 weeks. Calvin
Yeah,
Ridley. I mean,
I feel like he's
we
another
were
guy you just don't know what to expect. Like he's so good when you watch him play. He's just
is incredible.
like he's a top tier wide receiver. The way he can
Yeah, he just
separate, run routes, and
he
just
just
snag the
looks
ball. Yeah,
yeah, he looks so good
looks
out
so
there. Like when he's
fluid and
yeah, he
full
looks like a true
control.
one, true wide receiver one. Like his whole
Yeah,
stature, just the way that he brings balls in, like he and the run after catch. I mean, he looks really good. I mean, I think Trevor Lawrence and that offense, I mean, they look like they've been kind of getting it together a little bit after that Niners loss. I mean, they got killed against the Niners in week 10, but I mean, they're really, really trending offense, I think at least, and so is Ridley. I mean, Kirk's been good, Ridley's been good, Ingram's been steady. If anything, that the only thing that's trending down a little bit, and we'll get to that, is the run game. I mean, ETN's been, kind of suspect the last couple of weeks, and he's been banged up. So, they had to lean in a little bit more to the passing game, and it looks good. And if he can get this out of Ridley, obviously Chase being down a little bit now with Burrow out, that's going to be massive for the Bandits, especially moving forward. So yeah, I mean 125, great point total. Mostert gets two again. Guy just continues to just score. I mean, he's got 13 rushing touchdowns, 15 total. My God. I mean
Yeah,
that's
he's like the most underrated fantasy running back this year, I think. Everyone just keeps writing him off because of Achan and he's gonna come back, or they think
yeah.
Mostert's gonna get hurt, and he just keeps going out there and scoring tutties, baby.
Yeah,
So
touchdowns
he's
are
he's been
huge.
great. I mean, he is fairly fragile, so you hope he holds up. Personally, I
It's
hope he
true.
doesn't, because then Achan can get some more work. But yeah, the Bandits. I mean, having him as your number two, how he's been going off, that's nice. And then Olave, he's
Yeah,
just an absolute monster in the flex. I
yeah,
love Chris
that's
Olave.
yeah.
And then
Me too. I should have
Hawkinson.
kept
I
him.
mean, I remember during the draft, I was
Yep,
thinking about,
yep.
do I want to go Hawkinson or do I want to go Waller? And I don't know. I was just that I regret that one, but he's just been unbelievable. I mean, so consistent.
Clark.
I don't know. Is he over 1,000 yards already? Is he close?
No, yeah, he's got 786 right now.
Oh, there
He's
it
the
is.
the the crazy thing is he's got
80
108.
receptions.
I'm just
Holy
gonna say that. So he's
shit.
got 108 targets, 80 receptions. I'm gonna quick flash over here. So this is like for the total. He's actually a tight end one, which I was like thought that was insane. I mean, he's I thought that was total receptions. I was gonna say. I'll probably show me here. Anyways, I think he's like amongst just receivers and tight ends, like top five in receptions. I mean, it's just insane. 80 is a
Yeah,
crazy
I
number, and we're
believe that.
and we're we're through only week 12. I mean, it's the guy's incredible. Even with Dobbs there, and I think they're probably gonna stick with Dobbs. I wouldn't suspect a quarterback change there, at least not yet.
Yeah,
Um,
well, who's the other guy? Like, I didn't even know I had never heard of his name before. Can't throw him in
yeah,
there.
I don't think so. I mean, they had
Dobbs
bad,
has some swag. He's having a good year. Like he looked like dog
terrible,
shit, but you still got to give him another chance. If he does it
but
twice, get him out of there. But otherwise, I think you got to give him another look.
yeah, I mean, and then just going down, I mean, he's not going to really play the Carolina running backs. He can't. The team stinks. But um, just want to highlight. I mean, he's got Curtis Samuel, who's been really steady, but the guy down here, Christian Watson. I, maybe call it a homer, but he looks like Jordan Love looks like he's kind of find something, and he's probably not going to play him over the three receivers he has. But depending on matchups or injuries or anything, I know Olave's coming off a concussion. I think he practiced today, but yeah, I mean, he's got depth moving forward. I think two is going to be the big key for him. I mean, he gets only 9. I mean, he gets to the 125 mark, but two, I mean, I'm going to look at this right now. I mean, I just feel like he's just kind of subdue games like here and there. I mean, 9, which is not great. He had a couple duds in here, like 15 or less. Like I feel like every other game, and it's just not solid. So I mean, he really needs the rest of the guys, which he does. He has 4 or 5 really good players to kind of do what they're due to get to that 120 mark. But Aaron sitting in third, and Bandits are looking
Yeah,
hot.
I think to your point, if Tua hits one of his like on fire stretches like during playoff time, that's how Aaron's gonna win.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think it's
So
gonna
yeah,
come down to Tua. I
Aaron's got
love
a good
his
team though.
lineup though. It's from top to bottom stacked.
Yeah, really good team. Here's another guy that he does take the loss, unfortunately, to Rick. So we didn't get to recap that after Rick ever so cleverly was eating on a Arby's sandwich in lead up to their matchup, which was really funny. But yeah, he ends up beating Arby's. Arby's comes back, and this was a pissed off Arby's, and he throws up 146, near the highest point total of the week. But um, yeah, Arby's has a great team. We've kind of noted it all year. I mean, I definitely think there's a couple spots that um, at running back there can be some consistency issues there. I mean, Rashad White's been great, but um, he's got Warren. He might be the guy. I mean, Steelers offense did look good. They had 400, over 400 yards, but um, it's hard to rely on Jalen Warren. I know I think Derrick Henry was on bye. Oh no, he didn't play Derrick Henry this week.
Yeah, dude, I was looking at that. He didn't play Derrick Henry. Arby's. How do you sit
Wow.
Derrick Henry against the worst run defense in the NFL?
Damn, he had
I
two
didn't get that
tutties.
one.
Yeah, Arby's. I'm glad I looked down here before we got into your breakdown. Yeah, I mean, 146. You could have had. Probably would have played him over Warren.
Yeah,
Maybe would have played him over Ross.
could have been more.
Left a couple points out there, but anyways, yeah, I mean that's tough. I think Derrick Henry's on bye this week. Yeah, that's where I'm thinking. But yeah, Arby's got a great team. I mean, Josh Allen's the number one player in fantasy. We've talked about that. I mean, even though they've had some really tough luck just in terms of getting a couple of those close losses, he continues just to put up points, rushing touchdowns, passing touchdowns. Josh Allen's an absolute animal. Yeah, I think I want to go into this. I think the last two games, even though he got in, he did have 9 targets this past week. I wasn't sure. I mean, there was all kinds of points in that game, I guess, but I mean, that was just weird in the Kansas City game. I don't know what was going on there, but
yeah, that was a weird game, but that was also in the pouring rain. They've had 2 games in the pouring rain.
That's true.
And they might have another one Sunday. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That might be impacting what plays they're calling.
That's true.
So I don't know. Yeah, he's tailed off a little bit, but he's still a monster.
Yeah, Debo's kind of come to life a little bit in the last couple of games for him. I mean, we'll see what they do against the Eagles, but yeah, that's nice to have. I mean, Nico Collins is kind of hit or miss. I know that. I mean, especially with Tank Dell. I mean, Tank Dell's been, I feel like, on fire. Pretty good stats.
Yeah, he's been solid.
Against CJ Stroud really can sustain probably 2 relevant wide receivers on a given week. So yeah, 23 is a great outing. I know Tank Dell, I think he had a pretty good game too. So Sam Laporta, God, thought that I really liked Sam Laporta, but I didn't really think he was going to be this. This guy's incredible. I mean, every week.
I didn't think any rookie tight end was going to do anything. And now there's him, Kincaid. Who else are there any other rookie tight ends? These guys have just been going off. Like they're elite fantasy plays. Like that's insane for a rookie.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Kincaid and Laporta, I think, probably separate themselves. I think if Jordan Love can get consistent, Musgraves was one of the guys they talked about. I mean, he's hurt now, but he made some pretty nice plays for the Packers, kind of throughout the early stages of it. But yeah, no other rookie tight end stand out really. But yeah, this guy's been incredible. I mean, we're talking about Hawkinson's receptions. This guy has 55, just in the same class. I mean, the guy's 25 receptions away from catching Hawkinson. Just to share the disparity, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, he's got a great team. 146 is a huge week. You're not going to beat. Beeve had no chance. I mean, guy puts up your opponent puts up 146. You're absolutely screwed.
Yeah, he needed CD to do something miraculous, crazy. And just didn't happen.
Yeah, when you see that 43 on the other end, it's tough. I mean, he goes with Dobbs. I mean, against Chicago.
Allen was locked in against the Eagles. He looked so good.
Yeah, no, Josh Allen.
He played like one of his best games.
And they needed to win that game too. I mean, they probably will still get in if they can kind of string a couple together here, but they got a tough schedule. Even though that, like I said, there's a couple teams above them in the AFC that I don't think will sustain like Cleveland. But yeah, I mean, overall,
I agree.
109, nothing great. I mean, he's got a couple good players, obviously, that had some nice weeks. I mean, Stevenson, kind of was giving him shit earlier in the year, just in that stretch that we were kind of starting the pod. But I mean, he's been good. I mean, he's probably been the only good player on New England. The only guy that is even relevant to put out there on a week-to-week basis. So yeah,
he looks good out there.
Yeah, Jalen Waddle. I mean, again, I mean, he went wide receiver heavy. I mean, gets 19 from there. CD gets 17, which, um, I mean, at this point, CD Lamb's been putting up such huge numbers to your point that like the last 2 weeks, 16 and 17, you're like, where's the 40? But, the guy's been great. He's definitely, top. He CD Lamb should have moved up, I think, for sure, in terms of like at least where I thought where he was at. I mean, I took Cooper Cup over him. I even had, a couple other guys probably over CD Lamb, and yeah, that's a mistake. I mean, the guy's super talented. Um, Top five receiver, I think, in the NFL for sure. So I mean, it's just really tough loss for Nils to this week because he could have got to 6-6. Now there is hope, just like we said with Steve, but you gotta win two and the next 2 weeks, obviously, and not lose, and then hope for he's got to hope for a couple losses, because again, not seeing what the matchups are in the next 2 weeks, but it's
I think he's
it's
done.
improbable.
He's done.
It's
He would have to.
improbable, yeah,
He would only get
because
in
he's
with points. I mean, if he put up 200 points the next 2 weeks,
yeah,
maybe.
and
But I just don't see it. I just don't see where it's coming from. Sorry,
yeah,
beef.
point. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, I would say that whenever they give you those playoff projections, it's like his percentage is low. It's very low to get in the playoffs, but still there nonetheless. He still could possibly get in. Let's go to my matchup against the Bastards. I'm back, baby. I'm in the win column.
Oh, I love.
Thank
I
you.
love to see this win from UG. I needed that.
This was I couldn't tell you just in a it was a bursting feeling in me when I finally got a W, like of joy, of slight joy, and probably the only joy that I really had from maybe all year in fantasy, especially in this league. Um, didn't didn't necessarily have the start that I wanted. I'll say Golf gets a couple garbage time points for me, so he gets to 22. That was nice to see, especially considering that the Packers, as a fan, had that game in hand. But Dobbs was like the only guy on the Packers that didn't really do anything, which sucks. But whatever. I mean, he was the right play, I think, this week.
Dude, Goff.
Just
Sorry to go back to Goff for a
no, go
second.
ahead,
I
please do.
remember. I remember watching that game. He like drove down the field and threw a tutty on the first drive. And I think he had like
Yeah,
9 points or something. And I was like, damn, Goff's gonna go off today. And then he just
yeah,
sputtered. Like, not he didn't really
yeah.
do much the rest of the game.
Yeah, I mean, he had three fumbles, which, like, if as I was watching
Yeah,
that, I
that
was
was
like,
insane. That's
I was
-6
celebrating
right
it,
there.
but I was also like, oh man, like I have started him over Jordan Love this week, like which was the right move. I mean, I couldn't go full homer, but maybe with the Dobbs play, I could have considered it. But yeah, thank God he started well, he ended well, at least in terms of fantasy wise, and yeah, 22 is a respectable score for a quarterback. I think. I mean, you'll take 20 plus. Um, just so you're not already in a hole. Dobbs, like I said, not a great start. Only had three receptions. I mean, he was like I feel like he was the only guy in terms of the receiving core that didn't do anything. I mean, Reed had a good game. Watson, we noted. We got to highlight this guy, as we said earlier in the pod when you were asking me. I mean, this this guy has been such a disappointment for me. I mean, just the start of the year to have to sit 4 weeks. I could have kept Tyreek Hill in round two, so you take him ahead of me. I'm thinking, all right, Rick really likes his white receivers. We'll say that. I'll try to be somewhat PG. Um, and he skips him, takes Diggs, which ends up being a really good play. So I was really happy getting Cooper Cup. Terrible start to my year. Him and Aaron Jones get hurt. Jacobs had a slow start, so I mean, puts me in the hole having him sit. Comes back at 19 and 27. I'm like, all right. This is what I've been waiting for. Like, let's get it going here. And he has not done anything since then. I don't know
Yeah,
what's going
dude.
on. I mean, I
Just
don't. They don't. They don't have like. I mean, Puka isn't really tearing it up anymore either. So like, and they're putting up. I mean, they put up 37 points. I mean, Tyler Higbee had two touch. I don't. I don't know. I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know if he's washed. Maybe he's washed. I don't know.
it really like when you look at these stats. All right, you see this guy was absolutely dominant last year. Like the last two,
He's
maybe three
incredible.
years with Stafford. So then he's out for 4 games. He comes back and he goes off. He's the go-to read. I mean, what puts up 260 yards, 70 yards.
Basically.
And then what
Yeah, buddy.
happens? Like he had to have gotten hurt. Like it doesn't make sense. The rest of those numbers, he's got to be banged up. What did they say is an ankle? So maybe it's like a high ankle sprain, and he's just playing through it.
Yeah, I mean that happened. I think
Maybe they'll shut him down.
I think at this point, I'd rather that than. I mean, I have to roll him out there every week. So they get Cleveland and then Baltimore the next 2 weeks. Oh God, damn it. But yeah, that if I do have to put a presentation together, there'll definitely be a slide or two on Cooper Kupp. That's for sure. We'll put it that way.
Dude,
But
I just shout out. I mean, shout out to you, I guess, first because you decided not to keep Tyreek, and then shout out to Ryan for taking Bijan over Tyreek. Because if he had taken Tyreek, I was probably taking Kupp. So I dodged a bullet and I got Tyreek Hill. So
nice.
That really worked out for me. Thank you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. I have definitely a good hand in that as well. The guy I did keep, he's finally been playing pretty good. I think Antonio Pierce helped. The coaching change helped in Las Vegas for sure. He's been good. I mean, dead week against Miami, if you want to call it that. But I mean, 16, 21, 12, 6, that one sucked, but 22 this week, obviously against Kansas City. So, I mean, Josh Jacobs, definitely not the potential fantasy winner for me last year. He was just incredible, especially getting him in the 6th. Obviously, I think he was one of the top fantasy producers in terms of points, maybe second or third, I guess, because you got to consider quarterbacks in there as well. But number one for running backs. So knew it was going to be a slow start, just in terms of his holdout. But yeah, does the part for me there. Gets 22 for me this week. That was a huge amount of points for me. Pretty much my entire amount of points was him and Pacheco. Pacheco's been easily my best player. I mean, he's good. He runs like a madman. Obviously, everyone notes it, but he just runs so he doesn't go down, and he's got quick little short bursts.
Hurt. Like he has to. He's gonna have a short career. I feel like, but he's fun to watch. I love him. Yeah. He's great.
You're right. He's definitely physical. He runs like a madman. It doesn't look that big. I mean, I don't know what his. I mean, Snyder's usually good about the height weight combos, but yeah, he had easily his best fantasy production week, which I need, and he's been really steady for me. I mean, the only guy that I can consistently rely on. He had a couple bad weeks in 8 and 9. Other than that, he's been basically 10 points or more. So nice to see. Got a lot of points there. That was definitely the turnaround, I would say, in this matchup. George Kittle, little subdued game. You're going to expect that a little bit with San Fran. They got a lot of mouths to feed, kind of like Philly. You never know who's going to go off. He's been pretty consistent for the most part, but you're always going to get these George Kittle weird games when they're kind of running away with it and they just don't need him, which kind of stinks. But yeah, I mean, I got to 107, so I was happy to get over the century mark. Doesn't happen often. I'm averaging 90 something points, I think, for the year, which is pathetic. Don't even average over 100, but
yeah, it's not good.
Huge win, especially for the morale of the team, and then just in terms of just I'm one game, with 2 weeks left in hand over the Snyders, so there is a slight separation for me. Thank God. Still could lose 2 weeks and anything can happen, but yeah, big win and a tough loss for Logue. I mean, he ended up texting me right before that Baltimore, Chargers game and was like, wow, this is going to be close. And I'm like, yeah, it is. But, you have Justin Herbert. So I know they were playing Baltimore, a tough matchup. Ends up, I mean, I don't know if you watched that game or followed that game at all, but I mean,
not really.
Herbert, he really only needed essentially one touchdown in that last drive or two that they had to, try to come back in that game, even though they were down 10, I think, and maybe even less. I think they might have been down only 3, I think, at the time. So it ends up being really close. I had to sweat that out on Monday night. But yeah, tough loss for Logue. Herbert, kind of a subdue game, unfortunately. I mean, they only put up 10 points. He does get a late, kind of a late-ish score, if you want to call it, from Herbert. But he was relying on his guy Monday or Sunday night, and unfortunately he came up just a couple points short for him. Tank Dell, we talked about him earlier, and this has been the guy. I mean, look at this. Whew,
Unbelievable.
stud.
Yeah, he's insane. Look at that. That's
Look
absurd.
at
Is he the
11.
number? I mean, maybe not number one, but is he like top 5 in the last 4 weeks? He might be like number 2. He might be right behind Tyreek. Just in the last
Um,
couple weeks, you might not
yeah,
be able
hard,
to. Oh, you can
hard
filter
to
that.
hard.
Filter that at the top. See, like week 8 to week
You want to do week 8?
12.
Yeah,
Yeah,
two.
yeah, there he is. Oh,
CD Lamb. Yeah,
CD's up there. Wow, that's sick.
yeah. I'm really gotta keep this open because that was actually good to do. Yeah, I mean, I guess we could even go to week 9 because he'd be number one.
Number one. Wow.
Because we
Yeah,
got
that's
4 weeks. Yeah,
wild.
yeah. Tank Dell's been pretty awesome. As we've noted. I mean, CJ Stroud's getting it going. I think he's the number one. I mean, even though I thought Nico Collins to start the year was, I mean, this guy's really just taken off in the last, as we noted, 4 or 5 weeks, and just making some crazy catches. That one that they took back,
Yeah.
I think it was last week or a week ago. He's just really good. I love watching
Yeah, I
this.
think they're
I,
they're
I'm
great compliments too, because Nico is a little bit bigger and he can box up a
mhm.
little bit, and Tank's like a little rat out there. He can just run around and get open.
Yeah, no,
It's
he's
great.
he's
Hey,
he's
I
fun to
love I
watch. I
love
mean,
Houston. Houston's a great team.
yeah,
Lowe, you should change your affiliation to the Texans. Get it away from the Chargers. They're killing you. Get out of there.
yeah, they
Please.
actually might. They probably are, and most likely are shortening
For
his
your
life.
daughter. For your daughter. Get her out of there.
This would be the time to do it because if you're going to start liking a different team, or you need to like a different team, she's young enough to not remember having any Chargers gear or
Yeah,
anything.
that's true. Yeah,
um,
exactly.
but yeah, I mean, yeah, 100. He doesn't really get much. I mean, Brian Robinson was a little down week. Metcalf, they got crushed, but he kind of had to play him. It's funny
Yeah,
because I think
Lowe's team's nice. He has a solid mix of just, I would say, like high end twos that
yeah,
just
yeah.
are solid and can go off, and they just put up points in the aggregate. It's great.
Yeah,
I like it.
it's tough. It's tough too because like now, like because he doesn't in some cases have like surefire guys. Like he does have some like depth, which is a kind of a weird thing to say, or just like decisions. Maybe not necessarily depth if you want to call it that, but like Connor's back. So Brian Robinson. I mean, he's gonna play Kamara every time, but he has that decision to make. Probably not gonna play Amari Cooper anymore this year. I mean, he's got DK, he's got Kirk, he's got Tank. I don't think he's going to play any of those guys. I mean, Singletary maybe. So, he's got Taysom Hill. I mean, he could throw him over Schultz there in the tight end spot now that he made that trade. So, it'll be interesting. I mean, I think at 7-5, he's in that four. I think it's a 4 team at 7-5 kind of cluster, we'll call it. But yeah, he's in the hunt. I just he needs the Tank Dells, he needs the Herberts and Kamaras to really put up those consistent points. Because I mean, otherwise, some of these guys could have these weeks because they are twos, as you mentioned. So we'll see. We'll see what he does. I mean, he's in the hunt though, and as he said, he has never missed the playoffs. That's a pretty wild stat.
That is impressive, actually. This league is hard to make the playoffs in.
Yeah,
So
I mean, he's probably the most snake bitten in terms of like success, and just never got a ship. I mean, he's been in it. He never got one. Not gonna like hearing that, but it's just the truth.
the championship in this league is elusive, except
Yeah,
for you, G. But I don't know what
yeah,
it
but
is, man. I can't like I mean I'm the top champ in lube in one of my other leagues. I win a lot. This one I can't get to the finish line. But I'm gonna
yeah,
get
we're gonna
there.
get
I'm gonna
we're gonna
get
get
there.
into your we're gonna get into your matchup here, and yeah, to
Yeah,
your
let's
point, I would
let's
say
talk about it. But
go
yeah,
ahead.
go
I mean,
ahead.
break. You want me to break? Yeah, I was gonna say what
No,
one note to
oh yeah, go ahead and then I'll jump into the breakdown.
yeah, perfect. I was gonna say the one note I would say is that probably the two most successful guys in terms of overall. I would put you up there for sure. I mean, you've been in the hunt for sure. I mean, couple couple championships, couple thirds. I mean, I feel like being the treasurer in this league, I pay everyone every year, and I feel like I pay you almost every year at some in some capacity, or you just cover your next year's fee somehow because you're always in like that second, third, somewhere in that mix generally. So yeah, you and
Can't
Logan,
get to one. Can't get to one
yeah,
yet.
you and Logan have had some success, but yeah, championships matter. But yeah, going in here, I mean, yeah, this
Yeah,
you got to
let me just
127.
jump
Go
into
ahead.
it. I mean, it was just a bad week from day one. You had Dak and McCaffrey. I think it
Mm.
on Thanksgiving, just
Yeah, those are
dropping
the things.
just
Yep.
dropping 71 points on me. So that just was a little demoralizing. But you know, still thought maybe I had a chance. Hurts obviously went off. He did his thing. Tyreek did too. I just didn't have enough. I mean,
It's hard to have it enough when a guy
yeah, I
scoring
mean, like
162 against you.
Tyreek, yeah, Tyreek got 25. Deontay, he had a touchdown that they called incomplete. That was maybe
Yeah.
a score. I mean, Taylor's been really solid, but hasn't had that reach that ceiling yet. And now he has a fucking issue with his thumb, and he's out for maybe the rest of the year. Like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Thank God
That
I
that
have Zach
was
Moss,
just
but
gonna say that. Yeah. Yep.
so
Did
I
you pick up
mean,
Zach Moss on waivers
yeah, I picked up Zach Moss. I was
a couple weeks ago? I thought.
a
Yeah.
while ago. I was talking to Arby's about trading for him, but I just didn't. I think he wanted Rasheed Rice, and
Oh
I
yeah.
didn't want to pull the trigger because I was like, JT's. I mean, he's durable. Like I can't expect him to
Yeah.
get hurt. Like I'd rather hold on to Rice and see what he could become. So, but
No,
anyway,
that
I knew like
ended up being
for
okay.
anyone that
Yeah.
didn't have Taylor, it didn't make any sense to hold Moss because he had no standalone value unless there was an injury. So yeah, I got him,
No.
which is nice. I could plug him in and he'll be just as good probably to be
I
honest
think
because
honestly, I
he'll get a
mean,
lot of passing work, which in a PPR
you
league.
gotta look at the weeks that like I guess 2 through 8 here. I mean, like I remember looking at like the running back stats, and he might even still be in it because of those weeks he had. Like he was up there as like a top running back, which is insane.
Oh
Like
yeah.
during like so yeah, I think you could definitely lean on him for sure, and it's great. You're right. I mean, there really is no reason besides maybe at that time trying to re-engage for maybe less value if RB's wanting to try to like you're the only guy that would want him essentially, obviously with Taylor.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, it's to kind of just
Yeah. So
piggyback
so
a
yeah,
little bit. Go ahead.
that's the whole Taylor thing. So I mean, going forward, it sucks losing him, but I have Moss. I really wanted Achane back. Jeff Wilson
Yeah.
actually did a little better than I thought, but I knew he was going to get enough touches. He was the only other back that they had.
Mm-hmm.
Kelsey, I really needed more of a blow up game from him. And then, I was between Shaheed and Rasheed Rice,
Right.
and I just figured I was like, Shaheed, he could. I need big plays. Like I need someone to have an outlier week. So I thought, I mean, Shaheed has the speed to do it. So I figured, he had the highest upside. I went with him. Of course, Rasheed Rice has his best game. And
Yeah.
Shaheed gets hurt in the first quarter,
Yeah. I was gonna
which
say that the
is
injury didn't
fucking
help.
ridiculous. I hate that. So that was a bit depressing for me. But yeah, and then I mean the Eagles defense didn't do much, but I mean Anthony's team just you start with
Buzzsaw,
Dak and
man.
McCaffrey, and then all the other guys are gonna put up a ton of points too. So you're kind of
Yeah.
fucked. I mean,
Yeah.
the
I mean,
fact like
okay,
go
I'll jump
ahead.
in real quick. I was gonna say, like, I think when we had the last pod, you guys were both billed as, and I still think very much, even with the Taylor injury, that it's possible if Achan comes back, like, and plugs that hole for you, potentially and does what he used to do, before the injury, that you know, talent wise, or at least the guys that are on paper, these could be the two best rosters, I think, or at least amongst them. And we were kind of going back and forth, like splitting hairs, saying that like Anthony was the best, and I said you were the best with the Kelsey, trade I think 2 weeks ago. But looking at Anthony's team, I mean, yeah, if Dak's going to do what Dak's been doing the last couple of weeks, he's a buzzsaw, man. Like he's going to be really tough to play with because the quarterback was his biggest weakness, and Dak's been going absolutely off since week 6,
Yeah.
essentially. I mean, 26 plus. Sorry, 20 against Carolina. They probably just ran it though. That was a game script game, but yeah, I mean, Cowboys look good, man.
G, I'll let me jump into
Yeah,
just a mini little segment here
please
because
do.
I went back and looked at all the waiver wire activity because I wanted to see the most ridiculous ads, drops, trades to see what everyone did, and there were just a few things I wanted to highlight. Number one, with this is on Anthony's team, so most of these are good. Well, the only bad one was Steve's trade, which I'll rip on again if we want to get into it, but. Anthony, guess who the two QBs were on his roster week 1?
I know one was definitely Daniel Jones. That was unfortunately who he drafted. Week or the second quarterback on his roster. I don't know. It definitely was a bum. I just don't know. Baker Mayfield?
Kenny Pickett. So he went from
Kenny
Daniel
Pickett.
Jones and Kenny Pickett to Dak Prescott, who's been like the number 1 QB over the past couple weeks, and he has some decent depth. I know he's Purdy, maybe somebody else, but like
Sam Howell
that was his weakness. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't necessarily trust Dak, but what he's doing now, if he keeps it up, like Anthony's team's unstoppable when he has an insane QB like that. So.
What else you got?
As a member of the rest of the league, I'm rooting for Dak to cool off and the Cowboys to come back down to earth a little bit over the next few weeks, which is probably going to happen, considering they choke every year.
Yeah, he definitely needs a little like chink in his armor. I mean, obviously it's my brother. He already has a championship under his belt, so I mean, I'm not necessarily rooting for him. I mean, in terms of like, hey, I hope you get another championship because that's one step closer to me. Which nobody wants that. I mean, I don't want that. But, looking at it from a roster standpoint, like you just mentioned, I mean, yeah, that was definitely the glaring hole was his quarterback, at least to start the year. The rest of his lineup is just ridiculous, though. Just like Keenan Allen, who's insane. I mean, he had a fumble loss, but he had 14 catches. I mean, DJ Moore, if like he's back a little bit. I mean, he also has Mike Evans on the bench. So I mean, if he wants to split hairs, you can throw him in there. McCaffrey is easily the top fantasy player. I mean, the guy scores touchdown every game except for one.
He's number one. He's number one.
Easily. I mean, ETN gets him 12, which I was actually surprised when I'm seeing this now.
Pull him up. I haven't really looked back at
He's been down.
He's
been down a
weeks.
little bit. Yeah, so 6, 8, and 12. So I mean, San Fran, that was a blowout, so I would eliminate that. Tennessee, I mean, I guess they passed. I mean, they would score 34 points. So maybe he just didn't get a lot of run because they were blowing him out. And Houston gets 12. So I mean, yeah, down based off what he was doing. I mean, look at this. This was just a ridiculous stretch. But yeah, I mean,
he has four straight games without a rushing TD. Are they just not rushing it in, or
I
don't think Bigsby is doing anything. Is there another guy there?
I think it's Dearness Johnson is their other running back. He got a little bit of run.
Scoring tutties?
I don't think so. Nobody owns him, so it'd be hard for me to look that up. But I don't think so. I think it's just been passing. I mean, maybe, and I know Trevor Lawrence ran 1 or 2 in. He ran 1 in last week, so could just be, game script. I know ETN was a little bit. I mean, had an injury scare, I think, last week, possibly. I think. Oh, they did say that, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of trending down, but tight end he'll get that back. I mean, he's got Brees, like I mentioned. Jacoby Myers, who's been pretty good for him. I mean, not that he would probably play him. Thielen, I think, finally came back down to earth. He had 1. Let's see where he's been doing. Okay, yeah. I mean, still getting the targets there. Just kind of a dud week against Tennessee. But, yeah, his depth's ridiculous. I mean, 162. He's on a pretty much clear – he's clearly going to win most points. I mean, barring 2 really ridiculous weeks.
Of course.
He's got I mean, where's he at compared with Arby's? 1652 and Arby's is he's at 150 points essentially on Arby's. So yeah, barring anything crazy, with Arby's and him, those are the clear cut, runaways. You're the next closest at 1409. So yeah, he's
Huge
just
gap.
he's Anthony wins 3 in a row. That's crazy. I kind of forgot about Kenny Pickett. I remember the Daniel Jones pick, so I knew that. But yeah, Ant's got a nice little run here along with the Bandits. They're both 3-game win streak managers right now. So yeah, I mean, it's nobody's clinched, which is a kind of an interesting stat. I think someone brought that up in the group chat. Like nobody's clinched in this league yet, which is kind of
I
crazy.
feel like
Anthony did. Yeah,
how did he not clinch? He clinched.
I don't know. I guess I don't know. You're right. I have no idea how he doesn't.
I mean, I guess technically he didn't, but no one's gonna catch his points. So
yeah, you're right. And as we've established in crazy amount of text back and forth and research, I will say I did a lot of research while I was looking that up. Just going back to previous seasons. 6th spot is points. We have confirmed that.
really?
I mean, I don't have any other documentation. And I'm not going to call Logue out anymore. He seemed pretty surefire thing. I did go back to 2019 and 2020, so we did actually change it to most points, manually, we'll say, for the 6th spot. 2021, 2022, we didn't have to do it. So unless we voted on it, which I can't pull up, I don't know. We're gonna go with most points, which is cool. I think that's especially this season. I mean, it does give Riggs a shot, but he ain't gonna put up most points with Jefferson on a bye. I'll tell you that. But
by not playing a tight end and
playing Tyler Boyd
in your flex, that's just not gonna do it. Unbelievable.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think it. Obviously we separate a little bit. I mean, I guess 9 teams technically are still in the hunt. In terms of for that 6 playoff spots, points, are going to factor, for sure. So, Beeve and Riggs, we'll see where they get to, and yeah, it's going to be interesting next 2 weeks. Let's break in a little pick'ems here. I will say that going back to 2 weeks, I know
Gio,
Rick wants to hear this. Go ahead.
Gio, wait, but before we jump into the next matchups, let's cut through the crap and talk about a real MVP, toilet paper. We all know the struggle is real in fantasy, but wiping doesn't have to be. Introducing Butt Bliss Deluxe, the pinnacle of TP luxury. It's so soft, you'll feel like you're wiping with $1 million feather. A feather from the fanciest bird in town, that is. When life gives you crap, at least you'll have the softest way to deal with it. Get yours now in wiping style. All right.
Thank you. That's what
I just wanted to talk to our sponsor. I know you didn't think we had one tonight, but
I didn't cut out any advertisement time for that. So that's great. We're really building a nice sponsorship, forum, we'll say. I mean, we got I think Canada Dry, right? Was that who we got 2 weeks ago? Trying to think who else. We had somebody else as well. Damn, I'm drawing a blank.
We've got some toilet paper under our belt.
So we got drinks and we got toilet paper. 2 really essentials for men, especially during draft weekend. So it's big. That's big.
That's what we're going.
That's good ad.
All right.
Well, we appreciate that. But let's get into the pick'ems. I want to just backtrack because I know Rick. The part that I was saying that Rick wants to hear is kind of seeing where his picks were. He was 4-2 2 weeks ago, so those were the pick'ems for week 11.
4-2 is pretty good. It's pretty good.
Pretty good. I was 3-3, and Logue was 3-2 because he didn't pick his own matchup, so he refused. So solid week from the co-host in terms of the pick'ems. They beat me out. So let's break it down. We'll get in the pick'ems here, and we'll record both of ours and see where we land next week, hopefully. So Wednesday's a tough day. Sometimes a lot of cues, a lot of guys not practicing. So these could change. We'll go top bottom or bottom top, I guess you should say. Yeah.
Yeah, G, why don't you want to break down your own matchup here?
Yeah, let's go to mine. We'll go to mine first because
All
I'm
right.
playing Arby's this week, and Arby's has Josh Allen. So well, actually, he still does have Derrick Henry potentially sitting. Interesting. Damn, I hope he doesn't listen to this pod and play him. But yeah, he's got Josh Allen sitting on a bye this week, so he throws in Russell Wilson, who's been steady as we said, with Denver. So um, that's really the only thing to note, I guess, essentially on his team besides the Derrick Henry potential sit or whoever he's going to play um, in that running back, kind of committee here. Projections have us pretty close. I'm not really sure what the hell is going to happen to my team. I'll say that straight off. I don't know if I want to play. Probably going to lean towards golf, but Jordan Love has a Sunday night matchup against the Chiefs. Chiefs have a good secondary though, so we'll see. Cooper Cup, I got to play, even though I don't want to. I can't sit him and watch him go off. Might as well sit him and watch him just suck again. So probably gonna play him.
Tough
Hollywood
times,
Brown
tough
actually had,
times.
yeah, it's just a tough roster in general. I mean, I got Jacobs on bye this week too, so kind of hoping T Higgins comes back just to give me a little bit something. I might play him. I also might play Cooks tomorrow night, so a lot to be decided on the Green Bowl side. But we'll stick with this. I still have Dobbs out there. I mean, he's been, as I said to you, I think I noted him to you actually that I think he was the guy that Jordan Love's going to look to. He's been consistent at least with touchdowns. I think he's got 7 on the year. So I mean, he's a guy that's getting in the end zone. He's not a guy that's going to do more than like 12 to 18, but I mean, Jordan Love's kind of feeling it. So thinking about going with him again. I mean, I got some options on the bench. Like I said, Higgins.
I mean,
Probably
you
not going
might,
to play.
dude. Just don't even debate it anymore. That's your guy. Just play him. You're not playing for anything. Just get him in there.
I mean,
Then you
I'm
can
playing
root
not
for
to.
him.
That's true. I just don't want to play a guy. I want to not finish last, obviously. So I mean, there's a lot of apprehension and thought that goes into that. That keeps me up at night. I'm glad you guys all think this is easy. Although if Jones doesn't play, which he didn't practice today, and he's coming off an MCL sprain, I might have to play the guy that I just picked up this week, Samaji P. Ryan, which is pathetic. But yeah, I traded my depth away. And Jones is hurt. So unfortunately,
Dark times for the ball pack. Like,
yeah, it's a tough year. We're just trying to skirt through and we're playing for playoff position if we go back to the format of just worst to best, we'll say, in terms of the ping pong balls, but we'll see. Yeah, so I mean it's gonna be tough trading this week. I think Arby's has a good team even without Allen. I'm gonna pick against myself. I just think Arby's has too many good players on the other end. That I like I really need some breakout performances from, like, let's say Pacheco, who will probably have a decent game. Hopefully Jones plays, but you never know. Does Kittle have a monster game against Philly? Probably not, but that's something I would need. And can Cooper Cup look relevant? So I don't know. I got RBs here. AJ Brown, Debo, his running backs, Laporta. I mean, even without Allen, he's projected 102, and I'm not even sniffing 100.
I'm gonna take Arby's here, but I think you have a chance. You
I
have
do
a
have a
chance.
chance. All right, that
So
was an
I don't
easy
know.
one.
Russ can totally disappear. Like, he could put up like
Yeah,
4.
that's true. That's
So
true. I mean, Arby's probably happy. Actually, playing in 2 leagues, so I have a lot of banter going on with Arby's this week. But yeah, Arby's probably happy to see Green Bowl towards the end of the year. He's sitting at 7-5 and fourth, but you know, you're playing in one of the lower seeded teams. I don't know. I always looked at that towards the end of the year as a good thing, especially when you're fighting for a playoff spot. So we'll see. We're in the hunt. Look at this matchup. Look how lopsided this is looking in the early projections. Uh,
oh my
Bastards
god.
against Colombian White. Yeah, this looks ugly on paper. He has Josh Palmer, and I guess he's coming off the IR, so they're factoring a 0 there.
I thought I read wait, click on that. I thought I read like they said he might not even be back this season.
Could play again in 2023. Okay, never mind. Not sure why he's in his flex spot.
He's gonna have to look elsewhere.
Yeah, not much on the bench either. Man, Colombian White is in a
Yeah,
rough spot
he's
this
in a
week.
tough spot.
Um,
Oh,
yeah,
with all the
and
buys.
he's got some buys.
Yeah,
Devontae's
I
out
think
this week for him. Good
I think
Lord.
we gotta just take Logan here.
Yeah, I think it's
Sorry,
pretty safe to
sorry,
say that we're
Phil.
gonna have to, based on roster, side with the Bastards. He hates when I pick against him, but he did win the last week that I picked him. So, um, yeah, we'll see here. I mean, he's got good matchups too, Logue. I mean, yeah, tough to pick against anyone, but the Bastards here in this matchup. Phil's got a
Yeah,
lock lined up.
one thing, going back to my waiver segment, I had a note
Mhm.
about Logan here. He added Tank Dell for $0. Just wasn't even a waiver
Wow,
claim. Picked him up. That's an insane pickup getting him.
what
And
week?
then it was early. I don't remember. It might have been like week 3. I think before week 3 that game maybe. Just
Yeah,
picked him
look at
up,
these. I
but
mean, he had 2 monster weeks. Yeah, I mean, no one really knew anything about Tank Dell. He was the guy that they were like talking about, I think, in preseason, but um, you never think like a
with
preseason,
just how with how good Stroud is, I mean, you're just gonna have a
Yeah,
bunch of guys
yep,
going off. So yeah,
great pickup
he
though.
added Tank Dell. That was a great pickup. And then I still think he added Dalton Schultz pretty early, which was nice. And then but
Yep,
sneaky ad for Logue, he added Taysom Hill, who I didn't expect
yeah,
him to be in the running for that guy. And he got him when he was on his hot streak, which probably gave him the
yeah.
confidence to make a deal. So he got better from all those 2 tight end ads, even though he had Ingram, which was pretty nice. So
Yeah,
I'll give Logue a little bit of props there.
yeah. I mean, we kind of noted it. I think on the last one we were giving Snyder some shit about the trade, just in terms of his love for Ingram. I think that's what initiated the conversations, or continued them. And yeah, I mean, you're right. Those are good notes. I actually didn't realize, some of these, week in and week out starters for Logue, especially during that time where, like I said, he was kind of trending, um, or treading
We
water, I should
lost,
say.
yeah,
Really,
because he lost Chubb early,
yeah, that was
which really
yeah. So I
fucked
mean,
him. So
yeah, and Saquon, he kind of went RB heavy, and then he went with Herbert. So yeah, kind of a unique draft from the Bastards for sure. And yeah, I mean that's big. Picking up waiver players, especially for $0, that's pretty impressive. So good note. That's a good research by my co-host the last couple of weeks. I like it. Good additions. But yeah,
yeah.
Logue looks like he's going to take this one easily. Let's go down here. Beeve and Riggs. Oh man, so one of these teams is officially eliminated at 5-7 after this matchup. I'll say officially. Um, okay, let's go through it. This tight end spot is still open, so
I'm
I guess he's
I'm
gonna play
I'm
Chuan.
I'm picking Nils here. I mean, again,
Wow,
Briggs,
like it.
what were you thinking? You could have Ferguson in your tight end spot and Eckler in your flex. Instead, you
Yeah,
have an empty tight end position and Tyler Boyd in your flex. What were you thinking? I don't understand.
Tyler
Season
Boyd,
on the line.
who, who's had 2 games of 5. Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna.
He was
I'm
barely
also.
playable when Burrow was there. I didn't even want to
Yeah.
start him.
Yeah. Well,
When
you got
Higgins
him.
was out, I was like, I'll throw Boyd in. I'll start Boyd if Higgins is out, sure. But then Higgins
Yeah.
is back and Burrow's gone. Not a good start.
Yeah, Riggs really not looking smart here in terms of I want to sit and wait for Jefferson to come back in week 15, or week 14. I'm sorry. So yeah, it's not. You might be just playing for fun next week if you don't come up with a W here. But yeah, to your point, I mean not a very smart managerial move here out of Riggs. You can't keep a traded player, so I'm glad you're going to have Jefferson for a week potentially, and only a week. But yeah, so
Yeah.
it's
And
tough
again,
sledding
like you
here.
said, if he was like in first place and had a huge lead, like yeah, take the upside with Jefferson. I'm with it. But dude, he didn't have Jefferson last week. Now and then this week he's fucked. Like he's not even gonna make the playoffs now.
No,
Potentially, you know?
he's got he's got. I mean, Addison. He's got at least 2 surefire starters that were on bye this week before the trade. He knew Addison and the guy he was trading for, Jefferson, were not going to play in week 13. So, yeah, not. I don't know. I mean, we could bash this all week because or all night, I should say, on this pod because it's not. There's really no no justifying it. I'm also going with the Beeve. Beeve
Sorry,
was
Steve. I
hot.
just don't get it, man. But yeah, the Beeve, I mean, you guys really knocked him down weeks ago, but he's just quietly been doing his
Yeah,
job.
we actually kind of screwed the Beeve. He's on a 2-game losing streak since we called out how hot the Beeve was. So, um, but yeah, I mean, he was. I mean, at 5-5, he was right in the thick of things. Now, he needs some things to happen. I mean, beating Riggs is a start, and then he needs some points and a couple of things to kind of fall his way here. So, all right, well, we'll see. We'll move on. This should be an interesting one here. I know Lamar's on a bye this week, I believe. So, Anthony gets Ryan on a good week, obviously with him out. I mean, Andrews would have been out, unfortunately, obviously with the injury, but he has to play Minshew. Tough on the projections. I mean, just kind of looking at it and knowing how many studs Anthony has here. Let me see here. Just
Yeah,
kind of
not
looking at
not not
matchups.
looking good for Ryan. I feel like these are lopsided games.
Yeah, great matchups for Ant actually. Kind of just looking at it. Besides, I mean, McCaffrey against the Eagles, but I mean, no matchup is tough for McCaffrey. I would say
Yeah,
he's going to get his regardless.
he'll get passing work then.
Yep, yep. So is Goddard back this week?
I don't think
No,
so. I don't think this week.
but yeah. So you might only have maybe a week or two without him left, which is nice. So yeah, I'm going to go with Ant here. I mean, it's kind of hard not to just based off of the matchups, and then not that Lamar Jackson's providing like a ton of fantasy value, but I mean, Gardner Minshew's not necessarily a guy you want to roll the dice with, just in general. So, especially when
Yeah,
you're trying to compete with a guy that's having the most points. So yeah,
yeah,
Finkel.
exactly. I will
Finkel's hot.
say, like, for it to defend Ryan, not to defend him, I guess necessarily, but the Lamar to Andrew stack should have been a lot better. Lamar, like in the past couple of years, he hasn't been that elite fantasy player. Like he just has so many games of like 15. So
Yeah,
like
there
you
was a lot
think
of that.
you
I mean,
invest so high in him, and then like he can just be he goes on stretches where he's so mediocre. So
yeah,
if he
it's
had
really just a
him and
touch.
Andrews healthy, like really clicking, I mean his team would be a lot better. But I don't know; those are just two huge holes now.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're absolutely right. I mean, and especially when you're trying to. I think you took Andrews in two. I think if I'm not mistaken. So,
He
or
took
pretty
Lamar
high.
and Andrews. Yes, 2-3, I think.
Yeah, so I know. Yeah, so I mean, you're playing for that stack. You're asking for, you know, I mean, when they hook up, it's great. I mean, there was definitely a couple weeks there that we talked about them on the pod that they, might have hooked up for 2 touchdowns or a touchdown, and yeah, you get 12 points, 12 points immediately as soon as those guys score a touchdown. It's nice. It's a nice feeling. But yeah, you're right. I mean, if Lamar's not running it in, he's not really going to be throwing for more than like 2 touchdowns a game. The one there that I saw when he scored 40, he had 3 touchdowns passing, I should say. So, yeah, if he's not doing it with his legs and getting in the end zone, you're right. He's not going to score more than 15 to 20. But yeah, I got Finkel here. Guy stays hot. I think that would give him a 4-game win streak if he gets there, and would certainly clinch the playoff spot. And he's up
I
there
think
in the running for
he would
most
clinch.
points and the one seed.
Yeah, he would clinch a bye with a win.
8, 9-4. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you're right. Yep, with 1 week to go. Good note. Let's go to your matchup. I mean, always tough to predict your round, I should say, with the pick'ems here.
Yeah,
But
this is one of those where again it's like playing Phil Snyder 2 weeks ago. Like I should win, but I see enough over there that if my guys just put up duds and his guys do okay, he could get an L. But I'm on a 2-game losing streak. I gotta just put it together. It hurts not
damn, he's
having
got
Taylor,
some.
but yeah, I do think Zach Moss is a solid replacement. I think in full
Me too.
PPR he could get more dump offs. It's really for me. I think gonna like my championship aspirations are gonna come down to Achane. I mean, I need him
Yep.
to be my running back too. This injury to his knee and then the tweak has really killed me. But I mean, if
Mm-hmm.
he gets healthy and comes back and can be an explosive player for me to just add to like the high end consistency I have, that'll
Mhm.
be huge.
Yeah, I
But
mean, you really that, and I think you need to, if you can get the Travis Kelce of old. I mean, I'm not to say that he's been bad, but a
yeah, I
guy
need
that
him back.
can make up a couple of those points. I mean, you traded away some RB depth, obviously, and wide receiver depth. I mean, Godwin's hasn't been amazing, but he has been steady for the most part over the years, over the year, I should say. And then, Deontay Johnson started in terms of his comeback well. And now, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you got to play him, unfortunately, given the roster. But I mean, he looked so uninterested last week that, it's
Yeah,
tough to see. It's tough to see a guy not block or not try to recover a fumble.
yeah.
So yeah, it's
I really thought he was ascending, and then he just
yep,
hit that wall, and I don't know, just seems disinterested. But he's still getting targets, and he gets open, and like he dropped a TD
yeah.
last week. I still feel like, I mean, well, he did, I think, almost goose me one week, but I feel like he's at least going to get me some volume with some upside in that wide receiver
Yeah.
2 spot.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, you kind of, I mean, guy that I drafted, I didn't know much about besides the fact that Patrick Mahomes just liked this guy and worked out with Rashi Rice and like said like, hey, go draft him. So they drafted him. That's really the only reason I drafted him and eventually dropped him. But he looks like a nice complementary, piece to that offense, and certainly like pretty much the only wide receiver in Kansas City's offense that you can kind of trust, or really kind of a name outside of Kelsey. So I like that. I mean, I like that you can slot him in there for sure. Another guy that I could have potentially kept on my bench and would have used him at some point, I'm sure during the year, especially in the last couple of weeks. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think
I mean,
Snyder on paper.
I'm not like overly thrilled about playing Rice, but he's been solid,
Yeah,
and they do. I mean, him and Kelsey are probably the top 2 red zone threats. So give me those 2 guys in a Mahomes led offense,
yeah,
and
he's been solid all year. Yeah, no,
we'll
you look.
see. But yeah, and then Snyder, I mean, he has some big guys on bye this week.
Yeah,
Obviously
yeah.
Barkley. I think who else?
I
Flowers.
mean, Flowers is
So I
probably
mean,
the only one that
he's
stood
putting
out.
together a respectable lineup, but I still think I should have the advantage here. I mean,
Yeah, I got you. I got you in this one too. It's gonna be a close one. I think. I think Snyder's gonna put up a fight. He'll put up a fight for sure, and he's got some nice matchups and some good names. He's got to play the double flex, which I always think is a little interesting. But they're good tight ends to play. So,
yep.
yeah. I mean, I got you. I got you this week. Let's. I think we're only down to one more.
Let's do it.
The shit blizzard.
Oh, this is
Um,
the matchup of the week. Let's go.
easily the matchup of the week. 2 versus 3, 2 8-4 teams. To your point, now going back to it, if Anthony does win, I mean the other two guys at 8-4 are playing each other, so someone's got to lose. So you're right. Big week for Anth, just to kind of note round that out. But a huge week here for Ship Blizzard and the Bandits. Two teams that are definitely real hot. Another two teams that are in the running for best roster for sure. And we'll see here. I mean, I think Rick's been super hot. He's got Diggs. Cook hasn't really necessarily been in his lineup. I guess Komet. He's been playing McBride the whole time. I'm just kind of looking at the guys that he's on by with, but
Yeah.
otherwise, I mean, he's got pretty much his lineup. I mean, he's been playing Josh Downs. Actually, I want to look at this. I've been looking at it all
He's been
year.
good. Yeah, he's kind of
Yeah,
he fell
couple dud
off, but
weeks.
he had a good stretch. He's a
Yeah, he
good
did. He
player.
was.
I
Yeah,
mean, if he does, it's because of Minshew, not because of him.
yeah, I mean, and he got stuck now, obviously with buys with Diggs and Cook, because I mean, I think he would probably, I mean, he would definitely play Diggs. We know that. So I mean, he's missing a heavy hitter in Diggs, but on the reverse side, so is Bandits. I mean, Bandits has Hawkinson, as we noted, has just been killing it in the tight end game as just pretty much a wide receiver one too. So
Yeah.
having him out, he's got to slide in Everett. So both guys are missing some key players here. I mean, looking at it kind of on paper, I mean, I want to lean. I think I'm gonna. I think I'm gonna pick Rick. I'm gonna go with the Ship Blizzard. It's tight. It's tight. This one's a tough one.
Let's go. Let's go down the Mahomes or Tua. Who you'd rather have Mahomes? How about Ridley, Puka?
I would lean Ridley just based on the matchup too. I mean, Puka's got Cleveland. Not to say that that's going to
Yeah,
be, that
Ridley's
Cleveland has
been
a great
hot.
defense, but I like Ridley a little bit more. I like actually. Damn. You might sway me here. Chase.
Chase
I don't know. Chase
Hopkins.
and
I think I,
I
I
think that's
still
a
take
wash.
Chase. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
probably
mean,
a
on
wash,
talent
but
alone.
I would take the big name.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Uh,
running back wise is kind of a wash too.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean Kyron
I
has the most
guess I would
upside
lean.
there.
Yep, and I would lean a little bit, I guess, collectively to the Bandits. But I mean,
Yeah, I
your
think
guy
so
that's coming
too.
back, does that cut into Mostert? Mostert's a little banged up. I think Mixon, they probably run it a little bit more on Monday night, just with the quarterback there and the situation there. I think Cincinnati just want to manage the game there, so we'll see. I mean, I like McBride. I mean, let's see what he's been up to. I mean, I know they play Pittsburgh, but yeah, he's been solid as hell.
Yeah,
I
he's been
like
really
Trey
solid.
McBride.
That
I
was
know
another good for the ship was he added Trey
waiver pickup.
McBride. That was a nice
Yeah,
waiver pickup, and then he had obviously Puka, who he paid for, but that
yeah,
was a
that was a
nice
great
pick. I
pickup.
mean, that just gave him an elite wide receiver for multiple weeks, and now just a good
Yeah,
starter you can trust.
yeah. So and then I mean, we'll see if Olave comes back. I mean, he's on a concussion, so I know he might have practiced a little bit, like I said earlier in the pod this week. But and then the defenses are a wash. I don't know. I mean, who do you got? You got the Bandits here. I mean, it's kind of a toss up. This we might split here.
I'm taking the Bandits.
Yeah, that's our split. I mean, we agreed on the other
All
one,
right,
so we need one. We need one for the fans to see where we're at next week in terms of our pickums. But
let's go.
yeah, I mean, I think that's this is going to be. I mean, there's 2 weeks left. They're both huge weeks, but this is going to be huge based off of like 4 teams being at 7-5. The 2 teams at 5-7 play each other, and 2 teams in the 8-4s play each other. So, going to see some separation after this week.
Yeah, it's nuts. Go to next week's matchups. Let's see who's
Yeah,
playing who.
that's a good point. Oh, great! Jefferson plays me. Perfect. I got Riggs.
So
uh,
I mean that matchup doesn't really matter. Finkel and the Bastards. That's a tough matchup for
ooh,
Logue. Um,
why does Logan
Bandits.
86? No, just a couple buys he has. Um, Bandits against
Bandits
Bees.
has the
That's
Creek.
Arby's gets Colombian White. That's very
Yeah,
promising
it's
for
pretty
Arby's.
easy. Well, the Blizz has a good matchup, and
Liz against the train.
then I play Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly just looking at the last 2 weeks, this is actually the biggest week I think collectively for a lot of those teams that are like in the hunt, like because shaking out the rest of the lineup here. I mean, Pain Train against Ship Blizzard. I mean, yeah, Pain Train can play spoiler, I guess, but doesn't really matter in terms of the matchups. Me versus Riggs probably won't matter. Um, Finkel and the Bastards, that's a good matchup because the Bastards might be on the cusp of trying to get in. Bandits and Creek again, got to play spoiler unless the Creek wins and scores a lot of points this week. That's possible. Um, Arby's has a cake matchup, and then I guess you guys. I mean, you guys are
Yeah,
7-5. I mean,
I have the
yeah,
hardest matchup, but
yep.
I mean for me, I'm just hoping because I have 1409, which I mean I'm not that far ahead, but if I can just put up like a nice point total this week, I'll feel a little more comfortable going into
Definitely.
next week because it's gonna be chaos. I'm gonna shit my
Well,
pants multiple times next week.
oh man. Well, let's get a quick little roundup here of the. I mean, I think this is getting almost redundant at this point, just based off of like the top guys have
Yeah,
been the top guys and the bottom have been the bottom. But I'll run through a quick
yeah. I
lineup. You can
think
go back.
I'll just I mean I'll speak for
Go
both
ahead.
of
You
us
go.
probably and just say I mean Anthony's in the tier of his own. I appreciated you giving me a little bit of thunder, and I do still like my team in paper to be able to compete with Anthony, but he's done it. He's proven it week in and week out. He's number one,
Killing it.
tier number
Yep.
one. Then the second tier I think is pretty wide, mostly with the majority of the playoff teams. I'd say
Yep.
going down to 7. I mean, there's just a big tier right there. There's a couple teams a
I
little
agree.
bit better, maybe, but And then I don't know, from Riggs down, it's just another big drop off. I feel like just don't think there's enough there to compete.
No.
So just kind of getting through the rest of the year, you know?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, just to kind of break it down, if you want to go like per team, and we can wrap quick because I think this is pretty much an agreement that Finkel's won. I got Ship Blizzard and Bandits both trending obviously right there, 2 and 3. I think the way that those are kind of seated, I would play it out just like that, 1, 2, 3. I got Arby's at 4. I got you at 5. I got Tiburon at 6. I got Bastards at 7. Just flip flop them. I got Beeve at 8. Riggs at 9. Green Bull at 10. Snyder, Pain Train at 11. Snyder, Colombian White at 12.
Oh shit.
So I
Yeah,
mean,
I'll go with that.
you're right. These are all tiered, but this is kind of where we're at. This is going to be the make or break week. I'm looking forward. Actually, I think next week I'm going to try, depending on who's co-hosting. We'll see who's co-hosting. This was a great spot. I'm glad you could jump on with us, but I want to try to get some like insight to like the build up to the last week, if there really is any after this week, of just guys that are on the cusp of making the playoffs or like are still in the hunt. Maybe some sound bits that we could play. I know Rick provided a couple of
Yeah, I
those
like that.
last pod, which is cool. So yeah, it was fun. This was a good roundup. Yeah, I think we can get into some ridiculousness next week, just based off of guys that are still going to talk some shit. And then there's probably 3 teams that are going to be facing the daunting task of wearing the dress and doing a presentation about how awful their team is. So at least that's something.
I'm glad that you guys are still sweating something at the bottom. That's good. We need that,
dude. I mean, I do not want to put together a PowerPoint. I don't think anyone does, but the last thing I want to do is go through and look at all my moves and trades and then critique it for 30 minutes in front of you guys while I wear a dress and it gets recorded. I mean, it's a brutal punishment. I mean, it's a good one. It's not like there's no pain. There's some public humiliation, but to sit up there and actually put together a presentation and then have to present it in front of you guys, that's tough. That's a tough punishment. I liked it. That was a good recap. Oh, there he is, getting ready for his crops. That's awesome. Oh man. Well, I think we're pretty much at this point wrapped up for the pod. Do you have any comments for your matchup this week?
No, I think we hit on it all. I mean, this is crunch time. This is when you just need your guys to go out and do what they do. So we'll see who steps up. I mean, I feel like whoever you never expect the winner. So I would say Anthony's not going to win, given that it's going to be someone just getting hot at the right time. So I'm excited, Gio. But I appreciate you having me on. I do need to go.
Yeah,
My
thanks for jumping
daughter
on.
is screaming, so I gotta go
I heard
that out. Maybe she shit her
buddy.
pants. I don't know. See ya.
All right, see you, dude.